Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm gonna do an advanced riding course together with my father. It's a course that is organized by the Royal Dutch Bikers Association. They provide different courses. Let me close my visor. The one we're gonna do is the first advanced course, which basically focus on I believe we're going to do some braking, agility, a bit of agility on the bike, a bit of cornering, and those kind of things. It's a completely organized day. Starts at 9. They're professional trainers, so I'm really looking forward to this. See what they can teach me. The Royal Dutch Bikers Association, they have more of these kind of courses, so we're gonna do the first one, which is the entry level one. Then there's an advanced one, risk recognition or risk assessment on the roads, cornering. They have closed circuits, focused courses as well. But we're gonna do the first one. I don't know how the day will go, so I'll probably give you a bit of an impression of the day, maybe with a voiceover later on. The course is given on a closed facility from the KNMV, which is basically the association that does all the certification on vehicles and tests on vehicles. I have no clue how that will look like, but sure it will be a lot of fun.
And the course started with a classroom session where we had a presentation on various subjects related to motorcycle riding or to riding in general. Like risks, like motorcycle accidents, positioning, phases of the corner. In Dutch they call it the 4Ks. Kijken, klaar zijn, kantelen, kracht opbouwen. Or if you translate that is seeing or vision, be ready, turn in and accelerate. It's quite similar to the motorcycle control system, which is described in Motorcycle Roadcraft. I will put a link to the book down below in the description. But the main difference is that the motorcycle control system you can apply to any situation, and the 4Ks are really specific to cornering. The motorcycle control system, throughout all the phases of this system, they have information, and that is taking information, or consuming information, and giving information, like signaling where you are going. In this system, the first one is position, the second one is speed, gear and acceleration. I like this quite a lot, and as I say, the main difference is that you can apply this to all situations, and they put more emphasis on the information part. Now, we also talked about line selection. How do you connect corners? What's the ideal line? What influences your ideal line? Yeah, was quite nice. And we also talked about grip. What influences the available grip? The trade-off between how much grip do you consume for cornering, braking, acceleration. Now that concluded the classroom session. After that we had a round of introductions in the group. So in the group we also had another father and son. There was a couple. If you look throughout the group, there's a variety of experience levels. People who started riding a long time ago but never took an additional course, or people who got their license quite recently and want to be more confident on the bike. So that was a nice group. Then we started the practical part. That started with a few laps around the track. So on the track we had 2 bank corners, 2 flat corners. Between the 2 bank corners there were low speed drills. The group rotated every round, so everybody gets an opportunity to ride behind the instructor. The low speed drills, they simulate real life situations like a hairpin, a few consecutive U-turns, low speed maneuvering, and they provided you a way to practice your skills on the bike, which was really nice. After the warm-up laps we started with the first exercise, which was the slow cone weave, which is one of the most dreaded exercises for most motorcyclists, together with the figure 8. The trick is to aim your motorcycle in between of the cones and to control your speed effectively. Okay, to aim your motorcycle in between the cones rather than around a certain cone. You need to have good head movement and effectively move the bike around. And what's also really important is to control your speed. Now, to control your speed you can use, or you should use your friction zone effectively, so you use your clutch effectively, keep your throttle steady, and you can drag the rear brake a little bit and to further control the speed of your bike. After the slow cone weave we moved on to U-turns. We did both left hand side, right hand side. And for this the trick is more or less the same. You need to have good head movement, move the bike around effectively, so around the second cone you start turning in the bike and you control your speed with a combination of friction zone, steady throttle and dragging the rear brake a little bit. If you want to make it more difficult for yourself, you can take out one of the tools that you have. You either don't use the clutch, you don't use the rear brake. You do it while keeping the throttle at idle speed, or even do it with one hand if it's too easy for you. Then we moved on to obstacles on the road. So there were 3 obstacles put on the road: half a motorcycle tire, a 2x4 and a full car tire. And the purpose of this exercise is to show you that the motorcycle will go straight, as long as you don't do anything crazy if you ride over an obstacle. You're free to hit any of these obstacles you want at a speed that you want, but the advice was to start a little bit slower and then gradually build on the speed. The faster you go over the obstacle, the more momentum your bike carries, and the easier or the more it wants to follow its trajectory. And the least likely it will be that it gets off course. That sounds all nice in theory, but in practice I started quite slow. I think around 40-50 kilometers an hour over the board or the 2x4, because I know it will not be a huge issue. Then I moved on to the half a tire or the motorcycle tire with about 60 or 70 kilometers an hour. And as you see, the bike doesn't really move at all. And then I went for the car tire at a little bit higher pace. I think about 80 kilometers an hour. And this really shows you that the bike will go straight, or it will keep on course, regardless of what you're hitting. Once you build a little bit of confidence in the exercise, you could take your hands off the handlebars to show that the bike indeed is inherently stable if you drive over an obstacle, and it will follow its course or follow its line, and will stay stable. As you see this exercise, I take my hands off the handlebar, hit the tire with about 80 kilometers an hour, the bike barely moves. After this exercise the morning session was complete and we went back to the classroom to enjoy our lunch. Out of the exercises, I didn't think the obstacle on the road was the most useful for me. I would never practice that by myself, and it was nice to experience it in a controlled environment. The other 2 exercises, the slow cone weave and the U-turn, were quite okay, didn't struggle with that at all. We're also quite lucky with the weather. It's about 20-22 degrees, sunny, quite nice when you're riding, a bit warm when you're next to the bike. But actually a lot better than the forecast, so we're very lucky, and I'm looking forward to the afternoon session. We had a lunch break of about 45 minutes, which was really nicely catered with sandwiches and some broodje croquettes, or some sandwiches with croquettes. There was also plenty to drink and some time to fill up the water bottles again for the afternoon session. Before lunch we were already told that in the afternoon we will have some braking exercises, so think about whether your bike has ABS or not, because if you have ABS you have a safety net. Without ABS you don't have a safety net, so you need to be a bit more careful with braking. After this break it was time to get back at it. We start the afternoon session with a staggered cone weave or offset cone weave. The cones are offset by about 5 meters and they're spaced I think about 6 meters apart on the same line. They also simulate hairpins somewhat, and as you see if we come to the last one, we are riding back on the high side along the guardrail, which basically simulates some oncoming traffic, which makes this a little bit of a harder exercise to complete. But it's good fun, good practice. And the trick with this exercise is not to aim your bike straight at the cone, but slightly in front of the cone, so you have enough space to set up for the next turn. If you don't do that, you will get really close to the cone. You will still make the first or the second corner, but the further you get into the exercise, the harder it gets. If you want to make the exercise more difficult, you can do them with a bit more speed, in a different gear, and not use the clutch or the rear brake. This way you can challenge yourself a bit further and experience how the bike reacts if you take away one of the tools or are not in the right gear for a certain corner. After this it was time to start the emergency braking exercises. So we start with 50 kilometers an hour, next stop is at 70, then at 85, and then at 100 kilometers an hour. By gradually increasing the speed for this exercise, you see how much your stopping distance is actually influenced by the speed, which is very interesting to see. You'll see that in a little bit. My bike is actually one of the few bikes that does have ABS, same as the Harley next to me, which means that you need to be a bit more careful. If you lock up any of your brakes, it's not the end of the world, but you need to make sure that you release the brake in time and reapply the brake. Braking is also one of the exercises you do when you do your vehicle control or your bike control exam, but then you only do that 50 kilometers an hour, and then there are 2 different or 3 different variations of this braking exercise. But yeah, you never do it at higher rated speeds or high rated speeds. So that's interesting to see. To brake properly, you first need to load the front wheel before you increase braking pressure. And because my bike doesn't have ABS, I also need to be careful that I don't flip the bike. Because it's quite easy. You can put the bike on the front wheel, and it's actually one of the things that the instructor warned me about as well, because I was quite close to that. You should also keep looking forward, because that way you're more stable on the bike, which is better for your braking performance. The other thing to keep in mind is that the front wheel does the majority of the braking, and it's actually better only to use the front brake and focus fully on getting the best out of the front brake, rather than using both brakes and doing a lousy job on both. Especially on a bike without ABS, the rear wheel will slide quite quickly if you apply it a bit too firm, and it will get the tendency or have the tendency to pass your front wheel or start fishtailing, which is not really good for your braking performance. That was the last exercise of the day, and it was now time to put everything in practice on the track with laps behind the instructor. For me personally, the obstacle on the road and the braking exercise were the best 2 exercises of the day. The obstacle on the road is something you will never train or practice by yourself, and was really nice to experience that the bike will go straight and you don't need to worry if you hit anything on the road. And also the braking exercise was nicely built up by increasing the speed, and then after that decreasing the speed, and actually showing how much shorter your braking distance gets when you roam off a little bit of speed. If you look at 30 kilometers an hour, you only have like 2 or 3 meters of stopping distance, while at 50 kilometers an hour it's more than double. And that doesn't even take into account your reaction time. That was really nice, and it's also something to consider when you ride on the road. Roam up a little bit of speed before an intersection. It's quite easily gained after the intersection, and it gives you a lot of advantages in terms of stopping distance. And the course was really good. The instructor was good, was patient, knew what he was talking about. We also had a nice group of people to ride with in our group. But I'm also slightly biased because, in my opinion, for me, any day on the bike is a good day. But I would definitely recommend you to take an additional course when you get the opportunity, because you will learn quite a lot, and you spend a day thinking about riding, doing different exercises, and yeah, that will improve your riding by definition, and that will always help you. Now, having said that, I had a lot of fun. I will definitely do more of these kind of trainings in the future. That might be VRO 2, which is the advanced version of this course, or something completely different, but we'll see that when we get there. Having said that, if you enjoyed this video, put a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I will see you the next time. Bye!